Revolution is knocking, resolution is knowledge. Get your hand.
Welcome back, everybody, to This Is Hip Hop. Today, we have a record that went under my radar a little bit, and it's entitled Marlowe. And Marlowe is a tag team effort between Solemn Brigham, which is the rapper on all of these tracks on this album, and the L'Orange. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, and he has produced all the records, all the tracks on this album. And I don't know that much about Brigham, but I have listened to a few tapes, few albums that L'Orange has put out that are mostly instrumental albums, and one of them was more dystopian, which is a little bit different from this one, but let's cut to it and let's get into it. The first track we have on here is Cold Open. This is probably one of the best opening tracks I've heard all year for an album that sets up the highly fantastical, complex tone and in-your-face attitude of the record. The Mole Man, as far as I know from a couple of Google searches, is a villain of sorts in the Fantastic Four universe, and his samples are a perfect fit for the duo, as it seems they've stumbled upon this secret treasure trove that the surface world, as Mole Man might refer to it as, has left in the past. The vocal samples strewn throughout this track get you ready to immerse yourself in the fictional world that the duo has created, something that I can liken maybe to rappers like MF Doom that use a lot of these comic book references, samples, and stuff like that. And it gives you the impression that it's really hard to pin down exactly when this is happening. This is an album that could have came out 10 years ago, 10 years in the future. It's just its own kind of thing going on here, which is really nice because they've just created their own world to kind of work in, and L'Orange does a very good job with the production and creating that world throughout this album. Lost Arts follows and begins with these vocal samples that allude to Brigham's surprise breakthrough onto the surface with the art that the duo has created. He seals his proclamation of finding these lost arts by spitting this relentless verse as he rises to the surface, interrupting what has been taking place, I'm assuming what's been going on in the rap game, for around 2 minutes, which is full of lyrical gems and beautiful writing. Some of my favorite lines being, "If dinner ain't cooking, you gotta know where to find it. Less men get rich than those who die trying. Counterfeits keep trying to hack my religion. Every night I pray, let all but the whack be forgiven." And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Brigham keeps your attention throughout the whole verse. And the production is nothing short of stellar, with L'Orange using these vocal samples in the beginning to create cinematic entrance for Brigham, with these sharp and echoing guitar and piano sections that take you in and out of different spaces throughout the track with the help of the drums. Absolutely beautiful work on the first two tracks of this album. After this beautiful opening scene, we have Brigham spitting about what he's been doing in life and how he's been able to make a modest killing, doing something that's not appealing to most, which I suppose is real hip-hop, something of the sorts, and how where he's from he can't make an honest living. The composition is great with these subtle breaks from the groovy sections of the verses, which actually kind of remind me of something Jimi Hendrix would make, like Crosstown Traffic. Again, Brigham has that non-stop flow with some fat kicks and crashing cymbals that really add some impact to what he's saying. The psychedelic piano edits, I think, play really well into the fictional attitude of the record. And you think the disc scratches would be a little bit weird on something like this, but honestly, they just work out too well. So shout out to Wax Taylor for making that work. Demonstration gives me a real MF Doom vibe for some reason, with its psychedelic effects and sharp guitars with some reverberating drumming going on that really gives it a jazzy vibe, despite its components being really funky. Don't get it twisted, the song is pretty funky. An electronic guitar underscores the verses and provides a great complement to the high-pitched guitars, which combined with the vocal additions create a great space for the drums and Brigham, who has some real slick writing on here, with lines like, "Been doing fine, open up your mind and get some ventilation. Was said to me to keep it G no matter how you're rated." In just over 2 minutes, at 2 minutes and 20 seconds, Marlowe are able to show off just how well they're able to work together and demonstrate why they're still moving, and that's just because of how skilled they are. Tales from the East takes a slight deviation from the psychedelic demonstration and works in some gospel-like vocal samples with these jingling drums and snaps that give me this feeling like I'm riding on horseback going out west, which makes a lot of sense given the title. I understand this track is him coming from the East Coast and giving us information about his life. There's a great change to Brigham's delivery as he drags out the ending of many of his lines, which matches that stressed out feeling of his travels. I think just in general it's a great concept for a song too. A lot of the times we do hear about rappers talking about their come up and what they've done to get to where they are, but I like Brigham's take on the whole situation. It's more than him just talking about coming up. There's some real composition and storytelling elements, not only in the production and how it sounds, but also in the way that he's telling that story. It's a more universal story than just a particular situation that happened to a particular individual. I feel like the chorus on this track could have been constructed a little bit differently, just to match the overall mood and tone of the song, but I still think it's great nonetheless. I just wanted to see some more of Brigham taking an opportunity with that Western sound that he got and just put more of a Western influence when it came to the chorus. Before we make our descent into the basement, we have some monologue from the Mole Man and some other characters in this story, and this is probably my favorite interlude on this album. There's some great hollow drumming going on, with some female singing adding a very suspenseful and eerie tone, backed by an upbeat saxophone. It's really jazzy and a great transition from the Western style that the previous track had, that continues into the basement with some earthy and muddy guitar playing. That transitions into a moody chorus with the help of some female vocal additions that sound like they're straight out of the Depression era, like this woman was singing over a radio in the 1940s. Brigham's gloomy delivery on the chorus fits great also, and his rapid-fire delivery creates the mood of a man that's desperately trying to get out of the situation that he's in. 8 songs in, and Palm Readers catches my attention right away with these like Beach Boys guitar intro. And the production creates this landscape of guitars from left to right, with the drum playing being spread around as well. Brigham doesn't let up on his flow either, and he takes the helm of this song as he's surrounded by all this sound. The chorus takes a slower spin, with the guitars becoming more drawn out, brassy, and psychedelic, which captures the almost day and night theme of the song real well, along with Brigham's more exasperated and drawn out vocal delivery. Shifting from the guitar, on Medicated we get some groovy, fast-paced bass, met with some trumpet or other brass-based instrument on the verses, that gives the song a very cheerful and upbeat vibe when just a couple of songs ago we were in a gloomy basement. I don't know if this song is about drugs in general, or about music, or just the message that he's spreading, and the chorus isn't really comprehensible to me at all, and I don't think it's supposed to be, but the bass line and the head-bobbing drums keep that great rhythm of the song going, with some real intelligent writing from Brigham keeping you interested this far into the track list. Then we have an interlude in the form of Eddie Appetite's House of Definitely Legal Oddities. That took me way too many takes to get right. And on it, Brigham takes the role of a unsure and struggling circus curator, which gives me the impression that he might be talking about himself and how he feels the pressure of maybe trying to sell things to his audience that he doesn't necessarily want to sell just to make a dollar in the industry. Things We Summon keeps that very weird vibe going with the introduction, making me feel like he's the next act on stage by having these people cheering and kind of talking to each other in the seats. It makes it seem like there's people in a theater. The production, I mean, makes it seem like there's people in a theater and they're kind of chit-chatting before the show or the event starts. There's some haunting and waning female vocals going on in the background. Some more slow, relaxed, maybe even drug-induced flow coming from Brigham, which captures that very loose and dazed sound of the production. The sort of bluegrass piano going on in the background really makes this track weird in a very good way. And if you found any of the other tracks a little bit monotonous, maybe because of Brigham's flow, this track definitely breaks that and keeps you interested. Before Fred Sanford starts, we get a short song in the form of Tall Tales, which I think is talking about how other rappers might be acting out like the circus performers on here for fame, claiming no one else out there can do what they can do, as the person running the show, through his little monologue at the end here, is giving out Kool-Aid. There's a bit of an expression that goes, you know, he's off the Kool-Aid, which basically means that whatever that person's saying is crazy. At the end, a lady is injured and she goes up to the curator, who directs her to first aid, and the song set and Jesus. And the song Fred Sanford starts. It's a bit of a tongue twister there, which I think implies that she might be looking for some actual talent to save her from what went down in this circus or something like that. Again, genius has failed me completely, so I could be totally wrong, and I'm just theorizing about, what I read the lyrics and gave it my best shot. The writing on Tall Tales is also great, with lines like, trying to hit the brakes in a race with the brain dead, the life I've tasted, tell you what it's laced with, vacant faces. Like, damn. Fred Sanford feeds into the upbeat mood of the circus with these constant cymbals, a simple but backing bass line, and these absolutely lively trumpet sections that keep the momentum going for Brigham's delivery. The kind of jazz hop fusion going on the chorus is great as Brigham slows it down a little bit, as he talks about opportunity and wasting that opportunity. Apparently Fred Sanford was a fictional character on a show, I think it might have been NBC, I forget, I didn't write it down, in the 70s and 80s, which sold antiques and junk out of his home. And he had a bit of a crazy personality. There's a line in here when Brigham says, when the moment is mine, I'm going to oversell it. So I'm assuming the theme for this song particularly is to try to make the most that you can with the little things that you do have, the things that other people might see as junk. This is just an absolute monster of a song in every avenue. Magnificent Slim's friendly tip-off is another interlude, which is pretty zany, and now we're getting to the point where Mole Man wants to destroy everything that is on the surface world. There is a character Marlowe on here that I think is the scientist that either created Mole Man or something like that, but it's also like Brigham is kind of Mole Man with the messages that he's delivering on here. I'm not exactly sure. That's not really their fault, that's just me not understanding this completely as much as I've tried to. But I think Mole Man is kind of Brigham's character delivering a message on this track, and the other character finds himself with no weapon to fight against him. Mayday, with its dirty electronic guitars, busts through the door. The literal door that the man is hiding behind in the monologue going on in the interlude, and actually just how it starts, the song itself, and delivers a triumphant attack on the victims. It's just such a great amount of energy this far into the track list, and some killer writing with lines like, keep out of my keep, we play for keeps in my village. The chorus pounds you with these heavenly vocal additions and these piano key slides, and then returns right back to Brigham's vocal assault on these unfortunate human beings. Gone Believer is the last actual song on this album with Brigham's vocals on it, and it sounds like the end of the circus is transpiring, as it should. I think it's mostly about not giving into the current state of hip-hop, because his dedication to what he does itself is proof enough that he can be the best of his class, change his sound, go against the grain, and still make great music. There's some more aged female vocal additions on this, aged as in old, sounding like it's coming through a radio or something like that, and some panned brass with some bouncy drums and vocal delivery from Brigham. And this is gonna sound real weird, but it sounds so much like a literal ending scene to like a circus, just because of how the rest of this album has been composed. And the defiant lyrical content is some of the best writing on this whole album. The actual closer to this album, is a bit of a lo-fi scene, again with some great instrumentation from L'Orange, on which Marlowe gives a drug to one of the characters, which may have then become Mole Man, maybe? He mentions it has side effects, which to me means that once he takes a little bit of Marlowe's medicine, aka this album maybe, that he'll look at hip-hop differently, he'll look at his life a little bit differently, or something to that extent. And I think the medicine does turn the person into the Mole Man, who seals himself back beneath the Earth's surface, where he is supposed to find peace. But obviously, I believe that Mole Man will be back once again, and this cycle of rejection from the surface will continue, hopefully meaning that L'Orange and Brigham, Marlowe as a team will come back sometime in the future and deliver us some more great material. This album is stellar, not only in terms of how into every song Brigham and L'Orange are into creating, but also in terms of the delivery, the production, the themes of this album, the internal struggles we face, the struggles in society, the whole theme of this villain with Mole Man, and this actual story that is going on within the whole album, and this circus thing going on, which I don't completely understand entirely, but nevertheless, it's really interesting, and every time I listen to one of these songs, you know, I try interpreting it a different way. It just keeps me thinking like, okay, what is he actually trying to say? Is he actually trying to say one thing? How can I think about this differently? Stuff like that. This is definitely something that everyone should listen to when it comes to lyricism and production capabilities of both these artists on this album. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit confused on some of the parts here, but I feel like that's more my fault. Obviously, these two spent a lot of time on this, thinking this through. This couldn't have just been thrown together randomly. So maybe when there's more people commenting on Genius and I can kind of see more perspectives from the other sides, I could put it better together in my head. Some minor issues I have with this project are, I feel like Brigham's delivery could have been varied a little bit more when it came to the back end of this album. He did try doing that and it worked out really well. I feel like some of the production could have been left to breathe a little bit more, just because it seemed like Brigham's vocals were really mixed higher than the actual production in some cases, which didn't ruin anything. It's just noticeable to me, and the production really shines on here, so I'd love to see that equalize out a little bit more. But despite those small gripes, man, this is a diamond in the dirt, or whatever that saying is. It's not coming to my head right now, it's super late. This is some serious killer work. Everything from the interludes, the songs themselves. And these are, some of the interludes on here are more entertaining than entire albums I've heard from artists this year. I don't know where L'Orange found some of the samples for these songs, but this guy knows what he's doing. Like, this guy is crate digging like a crazy son of a bitch, and he's finding amazing sounds and just the sound bed for this album. There's so much sonic difference when it comes to instruments, when it comes to composition on so many of these songs, but it all fits together. It fits together seamlessly. I'm definitely gonna go back and listen to this album many times. I'm gonna give this album a 9 out of 10. This is as close to that 10 out of 10 that you can get. I was honestly debating giving this a 10 out of 10, but some of that mixing really just, I felt like it could have been done a little bit better, and like I said, with Brigham's delivery a little bit, you know. But 9 out of 10, dude, that's top notch, okay? Honestly, this boosted my mood for like the last 3 days I've been listening to this. And yeah, let me know what you think. If you love this album, if you listen to this album, please listen to this album if you have not and you're into hip-hop. Even if you're not into hip-hop, some of this is surprisingly cross-genre appealing. Let me know your thoughts, start a dialogue, and I'll see you next time. Peace.